two that are top tier. There's quite a significant gap between the very top tier captains and those below it. So locking in something like a Lorelei, especially Lorelei, in fact, because it can flex into that mid lane as well. A lot of room to maneuver in the rest of the draft.
Yeah, and it's actually been primarily played in the mid lane as a CP Lorelei, and the amount of damage you actually get off of her kit just from her passive alone is astounding. You get, like, I believe at level 1, a base of plus like, at 65 or 70 damage on all of your basic attacks from her passive, and then that also scales with your crystal power. So she just ends up being extremely strong. You see Arden and Anka getting picked up.
Yeah.
This is something that these guys talked about a little bit with Anka. Outplayed, obviously, is the Blitz hero. He's the top Blitz player in the world. Plays a lot of this Anka in Blitz. Might be taking it into the bot lane here in this game and seeing if those mechanics transfer over.
Now, worth mentioning, he did play Anka in the bottom lane in a previous week, and it didn't go so hot. So worth just keeping an eye on that one, because that was an unfortunate game. Let's just word it like that. Reza Yates going to be locked in over on the side of Team Hami. Some powerful picks.
This is just crazy because of the bans. Because the bans were targeted, there's so many strong picks available that both sides are just getting power pick after power pick after power pick.
Even things like the Reza, I don't think that's even just a power pick. It's also denying it from Pekko on the other side, because he's so well known. Best Anka was that?
It looked like best Anka world. I know it was at least best Anka.
Best Anka Blitz.
Okay. Well,
I don't know if it was what it was.
That's probably
certainly true.
That one is true. So, but there's going to be the Adagio. And now this is something that we've heard from a few of these pro players, is that the Adagio is actually a really good counter into the weapon Reza, which is where Reza is most commonly built now. And so that's actually a really smart draft by Team Outplayed to get that counter. And then the Jewel, a lot of people say Jewel's just the best top laner at the moment because of the fact that you can just clear out waves, you're very safe, and then when it comes to team fights, those big red buttons, if you line them up properly, can just melt through a team.
Especially if you can chain it with something, especially Ardent Gauntlet, lock everyone up into a certain spot, then blast them down with a big red button. Finn going to be locked on in though. And we've seen what starting all over can do alongside of Finn. When he lands that CC, you can follow up with the Lorelei. That is a recipe for disaster.
And Vox getting picked up as well. Like, keep in mind, even though starting is the one who's going to be playing mid for this team, Hami was the one that was making a name for himself with this Crystal Vox in WESG and in the previous weeks of the VPL All-Stars. This was a must ban against Hami when he's playing mid lane. So the fact that they're able to lock this in late,
so late in the draft,
it just kind of speaks to how much was still open in this draft. The fact that the final 2 picks for a team were Finn and Vox, like, that is just insane to think about.
Yeah, and then Flicker as well. Flicker also a huge priority pick. The vision control that Flicker can offer, but also just the hard engage. The question is, if you're hard engaging onto something like a CP Vox that has a Finn to hide behind, that is a difficult fight to win.
And a Yates and a Lorelei. Like, there's so much crowd control on the side of Team Hami here that it can be very difficult for Outplayed squad to even engage onto those fights and stay engaged.
Now, my question as we head into the first game, this is the final week. Everything is on the line for these captains. Based on the drafts, do we have a favorite?
I think Hami squad is the favorite for this one just because of the amount of utility they have in their team comp. The fact that even if they get dove upon, they have so many tools within their heroes to just negate all of that hard dive and just get themselves into a better position to re-engage themselves, or they can be the ones to initiate the fights if they have the advantage. So I love the amount of crowd control and utility that they have.
All right, you can see Louis game face well and truly on. He's ready to jump on into the action. This is somewhat of a grudge match between these two players, it's fair to say. Both Hami and Outplayed know
They're
each
very
other
respectful
well.
on the desk, but both of these guys want this victory.
They certainly do. It's time to jump on into this one. We're kicking off week number 4 of the VPL Fantasy All-Stars. I'm going to kick it over to Excoundrel and Dowsy to talk you through the action.
Week 4 of the VPL Fantasy All-Stars, kicking things off with Hami versus Outplayed here. I'm Dowsy, joined by the fabulous Excoundrel, bringing the action. How you doing, my man?
Yeah, dude, I just recently got a puppy, just so everyone knows, and he
What's his name?
his name's Freddy.
Ooh.
And he's for those of you who know me, I have Casper already, and he's going to be Casper's little brother. But he did keep me up last night, so had quite a lot of coffee, Dowsy. But that gets me more hyped for this week of VPL All Stars. And again, these two teams really stacked. I think specifically Hami's team looking super strong. They've also got that really powerful CP Vox, which has been pretty much pick or ban throughout VPL so far.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Gaspy, who's been such a strong force in the top lane throughout all of the weeks of this Fantasy All-Stars, starting all over, and Gaspy, both 3-time winners so far for the Fantasy All-Stars. So you have to think that's going to help them. I actually know Gaspy's 2-time. I make a mistake, but still, you know, you've got people who are winning it consistently on the same team. You have to think that's bodes well for Hami, but let's not forget you got Outplayed, who's just a god in general when it comes to Vainglory. No one forgets Louis Vuitton. And then you have Pico, who's just such a menace and annoying player. Really playing Jewel, CP Jewel in the top lane. We'll have to see how that goes for him.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that if you've watched his stream, he's kind of known as the split push god. He was known for like an Idris that he'd just like constantly, you know, split push. He's very, very, very good in those side lanes. And CP Jewel is one of his best picks too. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play. Also, you got Toff, like a stalwart player of the North American scene. Has been around for a very long time, got plenty of competitive experience. You also have Rock Bomber, who's playing Anchor, something that we've kind of a little bit overlooked. Anchor has been a very high priority through this update in Vainglory, and you know, even though she's got to get around a Finn and a Lorelei, which I think could prove an issue, a well-timed flank could really put a spanner in the works of starting all over.
Certainly can. First Blood does break out, and it goes the way of Koz, kicking things off well for Team Outplayed here on the red side. Definitely what you want. Koz on that flicker. Maybe should have gone over towards Pico, but you know, you're not really going to complain when you get that First Blood gold on your team.
Yeah, exactly. You're also going to start to pressure Hami here down in the bot lane. He's playing actually a pick that I've seen Hami play throughout the entirety of Vainglory 5v5, which is going to be that CP Lorelei. He's a very, very solid Lorelei player in general. And you can see Papa John. Also, he's a very high-rated solo queue player, and there's a lot of solo queue all-stars as well in this game. Papa John, one of the few, I think he's Vainglorious Gold in North America. Not totally sure, but I know that he's sort of very high up on the ladder. I've seen him stream a few times too. But that First Blood going over, putting a bit of pressure on Hami down in the bot lane, starts things off good here for Louis Vuitton's team.
Really intrigued to see how Papa John plays this Yates. We saw it be quite a contested pick last week. T-Tiger's really just showing the power of jungle Yates here. Papa John going to have to, you know, fill some big shoes when you consider the greats in Vainglory and how they utilize these new heroes. Starting all over on the CP Vox as well, something that we don't see as regularly into this Anchor. Reckon that's just because of the range and the melees?
I mean, in general, Anchor's really good at just closing gaps, and she can still stick to Vox despite him having a fairly decent amount of mobility with his zoom. So she's just got a lot of burst potential, and she's very good at escaping things like Finn and Yates combos, good at dodging CC. So, you know, there is a situation here that combined with the Adagio and the Arden, the Anchor dives in. She's got a lot of sustainability, something that she doesn't often have in her kit. So when you add the Vanguard and you add the heal in, it's pretty strong.
Those who may have not seen the other Fantasy All-Stars, the format's pretty simple. It's going to be 6 games round robin. These 4 teams will play each other once each. 2 top teams will go into a grand final of a best of 3. It is going to be them playing for that first place prize. There isn't a second place prize. It's winner takes all here. All-Stars means that everyone drafted their own teams as well. So these are, you know, all-stars of the North American Vainglory scene, essentially playing on teams that they may have not experienced before, trying to find those synergies over the night. And oftentimes, as we've seen over the last 3 weeks of Scoundrel, as the night does go on, teams come to you know, come into their own as the communication gets up and the synergy starts to be established.
Yeah, they also start to read the other teams a little bit better during the draft phase, kind of know what the individual playstyle and the sort of the strengths and weaknesses of each individual player is as well. So I'm expecting a lot of these teams to evolve. I definitely think, though, at the start of it, Hami's team is looking very strong. I think he's in a good position, although they do have to get to a point where their CP Vox is going to be very relevant. The combo between Yates and Finn is really disgusting post-level 6, by the way, and here's a big fight.
Yeah, big fight. Going to be the gauntlet set down, and here comes Yates into the middle of it all. Not quite able to get over that gauntlet wall. Can Koz get out of this one? It's a question. No. First kill will go the way of starting all over. And Outplayed pulled into the midst of it all will fall as well. Forced Accord can't bring Rock Bummer into the fight, but 2 kills going the way of Team Hami.
This is the strength of both the Yates and the Finn. They both have two really devastating abilities that can start fights. If you don't block or reflect or crucible even a Yates pull, you could have a single member individually isolated. And then if you force to use the crucible for an ability like that, that's an opportunity for Finn to dive in with his own ultimate and start the fight anyway. So there's the double hook combo. A lot of people don't like seeing it in solo queue, and for good reason, because obviously there's the less coordination. I fully expect to see 2 crucibles come out here. You can see Koz has already picked his up, and I'm pretty sure Toph is going to pick his up after this fountain as well.
Yeah, pretty much current meta, it seems, is that jungler becomes almost a second captain player, you know, with a crap ton of utility items to really set these team fights. In the top lane, a bit of a fight breaking out. Gaspy doesn't really want to get involved, though. Koz and Outplayed doing a little bit too much damage. Papa John will have to fall back here. Should be safe on this Yates to just kite back whilst Gaspy gets some healing from this healing Treant.
Yeah, this is actually a really rough duo to combo into. You've got a very tanky Flicker who's got very good base damages versus an Arden going for the Serpent's Mask, although Gaspy dives in, I think, really... Oh, wait a second.
Oh, this is Outplayed going down here. Pulled into the fight, not where he wanted to be.
Yeah, I think maybe just disrespecting the damage there as well as the pull being up for Papa John, but it was really nicely played by John to move in to clear that minion wave.
In mid lane, starting all over. Yep, pulls out of that fight. Deceived will keep him alive. That was a Mooncloak popped. Will they use it for any aggression? No, it seems like it was just popped to potentially set up a fight that didn't go down.
Yeah, I think something that is overlooked as to why Flicker is so good on 5v5, especially because we have a little bit of a Riser split push in this particular meta, is that Flicker is very, very good at punishing split push because of that ultimate. Really strong in the 5v5 scenario to just dive everybody into a lane and pick an individual off. Wait a second!
Delete starting all over! And now we have a big Crocodile trying to escape the anchor themselves. Rock Bummer has to be careful, doesn't get pulled under the turret. Papa John not ready with that hook to pull him back under. That's the power of Anchor, Scoundrel.
Yeah, and specifically into something like a CP Vox, which is very squishy. You do have to respect the Anchor. This is a very interesting dive in.
Papa John trying to set up the fight, but it isn't going to be Papa John going down as Deceived. And unfortunately for Papa John, another pull gets dodged away. Gaspy now is running for his life on this Reza. Can he escape? Should be able to. Very mobile hero, the Reza, and Koz will give up.
Oh wait, Anchor's here though. Rock Bomber's potentially gonna get him.
Oh, he got it, lands it. That's it. Rock Bomber finds another kill. This CP Anchor's doing work.
Yeah, this is why you have to be scared of an Anchor in a draft scenario. She snowballs very heavily, and if you give her the time of day, she'll get to a point where she will start one-shotting people. Going for no shielding right now, he's a very vulnerable target. If just one of those A's land onto anywhere near starting, he's going to have to heavily respect the damage output that Rock Bomber is going to have on this Anchor.
Yeah, already 3 kills, Spellfire ready to go, building towards that Broken Myth next. We'll have to see when Rocket Bomber gets it online. Only about 400 gold from securing it. Outplayed finally chips away at that top lane, bringing more gold to his team. Already doing well for themselves, although the gold lead does remain in the favor of Team Hami just by 2,000, and they're going to be able to chip away a turret of their own.
Yeah, you know, the Yates dive onto the mid lane, which was we considered maybe a little bit interesting. It was more to just save that mid lane turret that keeps pressure on their own CP their CP bluff. Basically, they're allowing them to roam in their own jungle without having fear too much of people being able to push the mid lane and roam in and chase them. Here's the Mooncloak though.
Yep, they're all setting up for a gank onto Starting All Over, who goes very low before the fight begins. Here comes the rest of them. Silence flies out. Look at the flank we've got from Outplayed. That gauntlet gonna set up this fight, and Starting is dead. Everyone's in the midst of an Anchor ultimate as 2 kills come through for Rock Bomber, wanting third on the Crocodile. Can he find it? Deceived under the turret. Stays alive for now and actually picks up a kill of his own onto Outplayed, but this mid lane turret is not long for this world. Rock Bomber scales back, turret falls down. That's going to be Outplayed taking that victory.
Did you just call Finn a crocodile?
He is a crocodile in my... I know he's a river troll, but he's a big fat crocodile to me.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I'll let you have it. It's kind of close. He's a lizard of some sort, right? Right. Let's break down that fight. I think something that you have to respect, and exactly what we were talking about earlier with the Flicker Mooncloak. It's so easy to position with Flicker Mooncloak because of the massive movement speed buff, and realistically the map just isn't that big on 5v5, you know, compared to what people might think. They kind of overestimate the size of the 5v5 map. So Flicker's Mooncloak allows an entire team to position, and you know what Anchor loves? Being given freedom of movement to position correctly in a fight, just so that she can get a very easy dive onto the backline without having to wait for that perfect opportunity to use her A. And with the Ardent Gauntlet and no reflex block previously on starting, it was such an easy job to just blow up really the only carry that matters on the side of Hami's team, which is starting.
Can they find another fight here? It looks like it's going to be Lost Boy Toff potentially caught out here. Rock Bomber, though, onto starting all over. Fountain can't keep him alive, or can. In fact, he does escape. Pico wants to try and find a flank, but not going to be able to get over that wall. Seems like this is going to be disengaged here, as starting all over has to go back to hill.
Yeah, it's a lucky escape for starting, but you can see the amount of damage that Rock Bomber is putting out with just a Spellfire Broken Myth combo. Starting does need to consider maybe, I think, even a Slumbering Husk to think about it. He actually does have the backup of the Lorelei ultimate, which is essentially a free reflex block. So I actually don't, although reflex block definitely seems like a really crucial item, I do think Slumbering Husk will save him. Wait a second.
Giant fight breaking out here. Rock Bomber's trying to escape. Mooncloak to get out of this one alive. The disengage is successful from Outplayed.
Although having a reflex block will give him freedom over his own ability to negotiate team fights, especially with things like Gauntlet to worry about. He might even go for double defense, although that will limit his damage output, and being one of the major sources of damage here for the team of Hami, he does have to be careful of that.
Can they find anything under this turret is the question. Unfortunately, Forced Accord will go wide from Deceive. That would have probably spelled disaster, you would think, for the side of Team Outplayed. But now, control over the Ghostwing potentially possible. They have to be careful. Rock Bomber does want to engage onto starting.
So Ghostwing hasn't really been thought of yet. We haven't had too many decisive team fights that have been able to be converted into like a global objective like Ghostwing, but seeing that Gatsby shows his face top with a big minion wave shoving in, this should be an easy capture for the side of Outplayed's team.
Yeah, tempted to steal, but it wasn't ever going to go too far. Oh my goodness, Rock Bomber dives on over, takes out Hami, gets out unscathed. Now going in for more, trying to steal away gold here in the jungle. Really, it just feels like Team Outplayed are so far ahead.
They might be able to go straight for Black Claw here. This is a very, very bold move, but they do have the number advantages. And the fact that they have Anchor Ultimate coming up in just 30 seconds. If they can keep this stalled out, maybe. They might not even need to. It doesn't even look like Hami's team are interested in contesting right now.
No, they can't at this point. It just feels like they won't win a team fight. Definitely not grouped up, and that's going to be a Black Claw taken for free. Send the dragon to the mid lane. Time to fight for your life, Team Hami.
I definitely feel like some shielding is needed on some of the squishier targets here, because simply you have that combo between the CP Jewel and Anchor. CP Jewel just needs to place that ultimate in the right position, and it will start to chunk with the Frostburn also slowing them down, and that makes such an easy target for a dive and an execute for this Anchor. It's a really disgusting combo, and like I said, there we go. Yeah,
Sight does break out. Huge stun though! That's a quick one and a half from Deceived, and that might just turn the fight. In they go, looking for more. Gatsby kind of just commits. Now they're diving in. Rock Bomber sees the opportunity, but gets taken down by Hami. That's going to be outplayed as he falls down, and the team fight goes the way of Team Hami.
That was a wombo combo, Dalsy. Massive, massive synergy between that Quibble into the Papa John stun, with also the silence on top, getting huge resonance bounces across their team. That is what you have to worry about if you are the side of Outplayed. Outplayed also going for a very sort of I could say like a longevity build on Arden. This is not like One Punch Man Arden. This is Serpent's Mask Breaking Point. So looking to survive in these team fights. I actually don't mind this, you know, Dalsy. I think he's realizing that he's not going to be the primary focus in these fights. It's likely going to be the Jewel or the Anchor. So if he's there building stacks while they are being focused, he might actually be able to come into the end of a fight and have insane damage just because no one's been focusing him. So I actually don't mind this build from Outplayed. I wouldn't say it's the traditional Arden build, though since Tension Bow nerf, everything has been a little up in the air. But regardless, a nice comeback now for the side of Hami's team, and they're also starting to pick up some more items. The Eve of Harvest is going to give a little bit of sustain, so if he can survive that initial burst for the Anchor and the Jewel, he will start to be able to sustain up with those resonance bounces.
Despite the fact that Team Outplayed have been leading the charge in the game pacing, Team Hami still remain ahead in goal, but another fight may break out and starting over already half health. Fountain to keep him alive for now as Cos fronts line this one. Pico diving in, has to get out of here, needs to use that ultimate, but he doesn't have it up. Pulled on in, Fountain can it keep him alive? Outplayed losing his life. There's Pico down, Outplayed goes next. Rock Bomber will be chased down by Gatsby, trying to find kills. He gets one, can he get more? No! He cannot, no, a triple kill. How does that happen? Gatsby, Papa John, Lost Boy Toff and Cos, last man standing as a 3-for-3 goes both ways here. Looks like they'll just fall back and disengage this fight, Scoundrel.
Yeah, the Spellfire doing work for Rock Bomber in that fight. It actually looked really good for Hami's team. Wait a second, Gatsby.
I mean, Toff is just dead here. I don't think he can escape. That's going to be him falling. Can they get Cos as well? Big tanky flicker going under his turret. Should be safe.
Yeah, Gatsby playing the weapon power Reza build, which is a lot of sustained damage in these fights. Not going for the Cerbit Mask, going for the pure damage of the Sword Blade. And actually, you do have to respect that sort of consistent damage that he can output. But that looked really bad for Hami's team at the start, because that was actually starting all over, getting caught out again. But you did see the Eve of Harvest coming in big. If you get that ultimate from Hami on top of starting, you get plenty of that sustain coming through with the double fountain, the war treads, the crucibles. Now you have a really big item that once you get a few resonance bounces, you combo that with your ultimate, you could probably heal half to 3/4 of your HP if you built up its Dragon's Eye stacks as well. So this is actually a really big pickup for starting, because it makes him a harder target to take down in the longer fights.
This game is all over the place. I don't know where it's going to go. Pico steals that Crystal Tree with the ultimate. Will be back up in just a little bit. 20 seconds left on it. Tiny little fight being engaged here. Team seems to be a little bit split. Rock Bomber just bursting down so much damage onto the front line of Team Hami here. Whilst Hami himself pushes down that bot lane turret. They've rotated. They've got themselves in position. Outplayed is on the other side of the map. Mooncloak gets popped defensively. Also good defensive tool just to try and push them all back. I have to see if the Ghostwing gets contested here. No,
maybe Blacklaw up as well, so that's a big thing to consider. There's a massive wave that's been pushed up towards the top side of the map, and with Gatsby showing himself there, this might be an opportunity to go straight for one of these global objectives for the side of Outplayed's team. It looks like Blacklaw's going to be the focus.
Just going straight for it. Starting it up here already. The damage is starting to stack up onto the dragon. Has Team Hami figured out? No, they're just sitting in mid lane. They don't know what's going on. Deceive's going to go check it out. It's at half health. They have to start the fight now. Can Deceive set it up? Here comes the Yates into the middle of it all, and the fight breaks out, but it's secured by Outplayed. Lots of damage going down. Lost Boy Toff falling low, but Rock Bomber's just deleted, starting all over, and now they're turning the fight around. Rock Bomber goes down, Gatsby falls as well. Papa John escaping, Deceive keeping them in the fight, but can he keep them for long as Hami does damage from the backline? Papa John, can he find the hook over the wall is the question. Is it even needed? Pico has to run, has to be careful. Oh, it goes wide. Not going to find it, but the Black Claw was secured, and it's pushing down that armory turret.
Yeah, that was a nice delay, I think, from Pico and Cos, because that's going to stop the disengage coming out from Hami's team as they rush to deal with the Black Claw pushing onto this armory. Does get a stun Hami here, but Cos will be very easily able to back out. And honestly, that was an even trade in the team fight. Black Claw is going to take an armory, and that's really just a win for the side of Outplayed from a team that I really thought was likely going to struggle in terms of names on the board versus this team that Hami have put together. It looks like they're showing us up.
Definitely are, and Rock Bomber's anchor is the star of the show, 10-3-3 at this point. Concerned potentially it falls off, but right now Rock Bomber's doing work, finding the key picks in those fights to turn it around. Starting all over, maybe the MVP mid laner of the VPL Fantasy All-Stars so far, but Rock Bomber is doing work.
Yeah, Anchor's just a really solid pick right now, and she's very good at finding those opportunities to dive into the backline, maxing his ultimate as well to reduce that cooldown. Doesn't need the extended range on his A. He feels like, because these fights are going to be so close range anyway, and if you actually look at the team from Hami, not many of them are super long range heroes, so that extended range on the A might not be as useful as you might think. So going for that max on the ult, I think, is better for the overall burst damage, and I really like that decision made there by Rock Bomber. I do worry that some of these fights right now, they are splitting up very heavily. Hami committing to a split push scenario, and, you know, with one wrong foot put out by starting all over, he becomes a target for Rock Bomber. So these split push scenarios have to be dealt with very carefully when you're looking to push back against the pressure being exerted by Outplayed's team.
Everyone grouping back up towards that mid lane, have to be cautious of the fact that these minions are now buffed up in the mid lane, and course, Team Outplayed are going to capitalize off this, a wave pushing in the top side to secure their tier 2 turret, taking even more gold, putting them further in a position that they can win. Still, somehow, Team Hami remain in the gold lead by 5,000. It's unbelievable when you start to look at the CS differentials in the different lanes. Starting all over with a 50 CS lead is pretty crazy. And look at this, starting all over, and Hami are just taking Ghostwing by themselves. It's almost done. Outplayed and Lost Boy Toffer here. Here comes the Yates to secure it. It's stolen, though, by Outplayed! He's going to be tweeting about it for days! That's going to be starting all over dead! And Hami is in a very questionable decision. Double kill goes the way of Rock Bomber. Gatsby trying to find a kill back for his team, but can he do it? Doesn't seem likely. Gatsby will fall down and Rock Bomber will be safe for now. 3 kills and a Ghostwing, and that will be all she wrote, Scoundrel.
Yeah, no way to defend against this push coming out from Outplayed's team. They played that so well. Rock Bomber on Anchor was an absolute monster, and the Vein Crystal is going to be the target.
Absolutely. In they come for the Vein Crystal and their first win here in week 4 of the VPL Fantasy All-Star event. Hami was kind enough to move Outplayed's team from bottom of the ladder to 3rd place, saying they were the 3rd best placed team in this league. Maybe that means that Hami's is the 4th place. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but I know there are a couple sitting on a desk ready to break it down. So let's hear back in the studio from Munch and Tasty Bacon.